Chosen one. What you did this morning made heaven pause. Not because it was loud, not because anyone else noticed, not because you announced it or wrote it down or told anyone what you were feeling in that moment. Heaven paused because of what happened inside you. Something shifted this morning in the way you responded to your life. And that shift did not go unnoticed. The God who watches over every sparrow, who numbers the hairs on your head, who holds every moment of your story in his hands. He saw what you did, and he responded. Now you may be wondering what exactly this message is about. You may be sitting there thinking you do not know what you did. You may feel like this morning was ordinary, like nothing remarkable happened. Like you woke up, got through the first hours of your day, and carried the same weight you have been carrying for a long time. But something was different. Something in the way you moved through this morning revealed a version of you that has been quietly growing. A version of you that has been tested and stretched and broken open and rebuilt in ways you may not have fully recognized yet. And what you did this morning, the way you responded, the choice you made, the thing you did not do that you once would have, that was the signal heaven was waiting for. This message is for you, not for everyone watching, for you, because the fact that you are here in this moment, listening to these words, is itself part of what is unfolding in your life. Stay with me, because before I tell you what is coming, I need to tell you what I know about where you have been. If this already feels personal, type 777 in the comments. You did not make that choice this morning from an easy place. Let me say that again. What you did this morning, the way you responded differently, did not come from a place of ease. It did not come from someone who has had it simple. It did not come from someone who woke up one day and decided to be at peace. It came from someone who has been through something, and that matters deeply to God. I want to talk about where you have been, because for a long time, you have been carrying a kind of exhaustion that is hard to explain to other people. It is not the exhaustion of working too hard, though you may have done that too. It is the exhaustion that comes from working so hard at holding everything together. From trying to make sure no one leaves. From trying to make sure nothing falls apart. From waking up in the morning with a pressure on your chest before the day has even started, as if something is waiting to go wrong, and it is somehow your job to prevent it. You have known what it feels like to lie awake at night and run the same conversations through your mind. The ones you already had. The ones you wished had gone differently. The ones you rehearsed for future moments that may never come. You know what it is like to carry the weight of something unresolved and still have to show up for everything and everyone around you. You have wondered more than once whether God was listening. Not in a faithless way, in the way of someone who truly believes but cannot always feel the response. You have prayed, you have asked, you have waited, and there were seasons where the silence felt so heavy that you started to question whether your prayers were reaching anywhere at all. Whether the things you were holding on to were worth holding. Whether the version of life you were imagining for yourself was something that would ever actually arrive. You have tried to control things because control felt like the only available protection. If you could just anticipate every outcome, you told yourself, nothing could surprise you badly enough to break you. If you could just manage every relationship carefully enough, no one would leave the way others left before. If you could stay small enough, quiet enough, careful enough, maybe you would be safe, and underneath all of that was a wound, a place in you where you absorbed a message at some point in your story that told you it was not safe to be fully yourself. That told you your needs were too much. That told you love was conditional and approval had to be earned, and peace was something other people got to feel, but not you. You carried that. For a long time you carried that. And this morning, something happened. You did not respond the way that wound would have predicted. You did not panic when you once would have panicked. You did not chase when you once would have chased. You did not fight for a version of things that no longer serves you. You did not return to a pattern that has cost you again and again. You chose differently. And that single, quiet, internal choice is what we are here to talk about today. Because it was not small. Even if it felt small. Even if no one around you could see it. Even if by the time you reach the end of this message, you have already started to minimize it and tell yourself, it does not count. It counts. God saw it, and God responded. If this is touching something real inside you right now, type Amen. So what did you do this morning? Let me tell you what I believe happened. And as I describe it, I want you to listen for the version that feels most true for your life. Maybe you chose silence when you once would have fired back. When you once would have sent the message or made the call or forced the conversation to happen on your terms, you stopped. Something in you knew that the response you almost gave was coming from fear, not from truth, and you let it pass. You held your tongue not out of weakness, but out of a growing recognition that not every moment requires your reaction. Maybe you let something go. A resentment you have been carrying that has not been helping you. A relationship you have been trying to resurrect that has already told you what it is. A version of a situation you have been clinging to because you needed it to mean something. And this morning, quietly, without any dramatic announcement, you loosened your grip. Maybe you stopped waiting for permission. For years there has been something in you that wanted to move, that felt called toward something, but you kept waiting for someone else to tell you it was time. And this morning, something shifted in the waiting. You stopped asking whether you were ready, and you simply made a decision to keep moving forward regardless. Maybe you prayed instead of panicking. The old version of you would have spiraled, would have catastrophized, would have run every worst case through your mind until the anxiety of the imagined outcome felt as real as anything that had actually happened. But this morning, you turned toward God instead of inward. You said, I do not know what to do with this, but I know I do not have to carry it alone. Maybe you simply chose not to go back to the person you were trying to leave behind, back to the habits that dulled the pain but never healed it, back to the version of yourself who believed the diminishing things you were told about what your life could be. Whatever your version of that moment was, God saw it. And here is what I want you to understand. Heaven was not watching the size of the action. God was not measuring the volume or the drama or the visible significance of what you did. He was watching what it revealed about your heart. Proverbs 3:5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. That kind of trust is exactly what you practiced this morning, when you stopped demanding that everything makes sense before you responded in faith. When you chose the path of surrender over the path of control. When you trusted that God could handle what you were releasing. That is what heaven saw. If messages like this have helped strengthen your faith, you can support this work through the link pinned in the comments below. Every gift helps us keep sharing these messages with people who need them. Now let me explain something important, because this is where I want to be careful with you. What happened this morning did not change God's plan. What changed was your readiness to receive it. So many people carry a quiet fear that they have missed their moment, that they responded wrongly too many times, that they stayed too long in the wrong season. And that fear is simply not aligned with who God is. The timing changed because something in you changed. You became ready for something you could not have carried before. The relationship that ended and left you grieving, it trained you to stop finding your worth in someone else's willingness to stay. The opportunity that fell through it redirected you towards something that will fit who you are actually becoming, not the version of you from 2 years ago. The season of waiting that made no sense, it was building in you exactly the patience that the next season will require. You were not being punished in those seasons, you were being prepared. Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. All things, the confusion, the grief, the silence, the prayers that seemed to reach nowhere. Every one of those moments was working in the direction of who you are. Right now, the person who, this morning, responded differently. Everything that happened in your story was working, and the evidence of that work is what you did this morning. Here is how you will know that this is real, because I want to give you something specific, something you can watch for in your own life, not a promise of money or instant miracle. Something more reliable than that. The internal evidence of a genuine shift. You will notice it first in the things you no longer chase. There are things you have been pursuing with a kind of desperate energy that never quite felt like faith. Relationships you were holding together by force. Situations you were trying to manufacture through sheer will. Approval from people whose approval was never going to be enough because the wound underneath the need was always going to demand more. And you will begin to notice, if you have not already, that the chase is losing its grip on you. Not because you have stopped caring, but because you are beginning to trust that what is truly for you does not require you to exhaust yourself pursuing it. The conversation you once would have forced, you can now leave alone, not because you are indifferent, because you are beginning to understand that some conversations happen in their own time, or they do not happen at all, and forcing them has never actually produced the result you were looking for. The person whose approval once had the power to define your day, you will notice that power beginning to weaken. This does not mean you will stop loving that person. It means your sense of your own worth is no longer located entirely in their response to you. And that is not coldness, that is health. That is what it looks like when your identity begins to rest in God's assessment of you, rather than in the ever-shifting evaluations of the people around you. The delay that once made you panic will no longer feel exclusively like rejection. This is a big one, because the way you interpret delay reveals everything about where your trust actually lives. When you were operating primarily from fear, every unanswered prayer felt like confirmation that you were not enough. Every closed door felt like evidence that something was fundamentally wrong with you. Every season of waiting produced a kind of internal catastrophizing because the silence of God felt indistinguishable from the silence of abandonment. But that is changing. You are beginning to develop what can only be called a different relationship with time. A growing ability to hold the not yet without collapsing under its weight. A quiet trust that says, I do not know when, but I know who holds the when. This is what Isaiah 40:31 means when it says, those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. The waiting itself is not passive, it is an active exercise of trust, and you are getting stronger in it. You will also notice changes in what you are drawn toward. The things that used to attract you, the situations that offered the illusion of control, the relationships that allowed you to stay in a familiar role, even if that role was painful, the habits that numbed you when numbness felt safer than feeling they are beginning to lose their appeal. Not all at once, not overnight, but you will notice that something in you is turning away from what is small and toward what is true. Psalm 37:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. The extraordinary thing about this verse is not simply that God gives desires. It is that as you draw closer to God, your desires themselves begin to change. The things you want start to align with what you were actually made for. And that alignment is one of the most powerful signs that your transformation is genuine. Type 444 if you are ready to stop returning to the old version of yourself. And if this message has been meaningful to you, you can support this ministry through the donation link pinned below. Your support helps us continue creating messages of faith and encouragement. As the internal shift becomes established, your external life will begin to reflect it. I want to be honest with you about how this works. Because this is not about a sudden windfall arriving at your door tomorrow morning, the changes that come from genuine internal transformation tend to arrive quietly, as clarity in a moment you expected to be confusing. As a door that opens, not because luck shifted, but because you have become someone who can walk through it without destroying what is on the other side. Watch for the specific things. Someone will reach out at exactly the right moment, not because you strategized or positioned yourself carefully, because your peace has become something other people can feel. They may not be able to name it, but they lean toward it. You will begin to notice this in small ways first. A conversation that opens naturally, a connection that arrives without effort on your part. A situation you were dreading will resolve more quietly than you expected, not because the problem disappeared, but because you walked into it as a different person, and the person you have become handles things differently than the person you were. The conflict that once would have escalated you did not pour fuel into it, and it burned itself out. Someone who once carried significant weight in your life, a voice whose judgment shaped your decisions, whose moods you tracked, whose opinion rearranged your day, you will notice that weight beginning to shift, not overnight. But in one specific moment, you will realize you made a choice without consulting what they would think of it. And the world did not fall apart. And you will know something has changed. Opportunities that seemed closed will reopen in new forms. Not necessarily the identical door, but the underlying thing God was growing you toward through that season will find its way back to you. Because God does not waste what He builds. He does not walk you through a preparation and then abandon the purpose. And there will be something you can only describe as provision arriving at unexpected moments. A need that gets met before you had to ask. A word from someone who did not know you needed to hear it. A small thing that arrives at exactly the right time and reminds you that you are not navigating this season alone. These are easy to miss if you are not paying attention. But if you are watching, you will start to recognize them, and they will build your confidence that you are moving in the right direction. Your job is not to manufacture any of this. Your job is to remain the person who chose differently this morning. Before I tell you the most important thing, if these messages have supported your faith, you can help us continue this work through the donation link pinned in the comments below. Thank you for helping this message reach more hearts. There will be a temptation to return. Not necessarily a dramatic temptation. Not necessarily a moment where you consciously decide to abandon everything you have been building. It will be quieter than that. It will feel reasonable. It will come dressed in familiar language and familiar feelings, and it will tell you that the old way was not so bad, that the new territory is too uncertain, that the version of yourself you are becoming requires too much and offers too little that is immediate and tangible and guaranteed. The enemy of your growth does not usually arrive loudly. He arrives in the moment of fatigue, in the moment when the new way has not yet produced the results that would make it obviously worth continuing. In the moment when the old patterns are right there, warm and familiar, and the future that God is building is still largely invisible, and in that moment you will need to remember what you did this morning. You will need to remember that the version of you who made that choice is not a performance. It is not who you were on a good day. It is who you actually are now, forged not by ease but by everything you have already walked through. Going back is not really going back to safety. Going back means returning to the cost, the exhaustion of performing for approval, the weight of controlling what cannot be controlled, the slow erosion of a life lived in reaction to fear rather than in response to purpose. You know what that costs you. You have paid it for long enough. James 1-4 says, "Let patience have its perfect work so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing." The completion God is moving you toward requires that you stay in the direction you are already moving, not perfectly, not without moments of fear or doubt or uncertainty, but consistently without turning around. The unfamiliarity of where you are going is not a sign that you are lost. It is a sign that you have never been here before, and you have never been here before because this is the season that everything prior was preparing you to enter. Do not go back. I want to close with something I need you to hear clearly. What changed this morning was not heaven discovering who you are. God has always known who you are. He knew you before you knew yourself. He knew your name before the world was formed. He knew every wound you would carry, and every season you would walk through, and every moment of doubt, and every midnight prayer, and every time you almost stopped, but did not. What changed was not God's knowledge of you. What changed was you finally moving, like someone who has received the preparation they were given. You have been shaped by more than you have been given credit for, and the evidence of that is not some external sign yet to arrive. The evidence is already in you. You held the boundary you once would have collapsed. You released the thing you once would have chased. You trusted where you once would have panicked. You chose forward over familiar, and that choice, that quiet internal, nobody else saw it. Choice is the most significant thing that has happened in your story in a long time. Jeremiah 29-11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." That future is not waiting for you to be perfect. It is waiting for you to be ready. And what happened this morning was your answer to the question God has been asking. You are ready. Not because the fear is completely gone, not because the future is suddenly clear or everything has been resolved, but because the answer you gave this morning was real. It came from somewhere deep and honest inside you, and it cannot be taken back. You do not need to force what comes next. You do not need to perform readiness or manufacture proof that something has changed. The shift is already underway. Your only job now is to remain the person who made that choice. One moment, one day, one faithful response at a time. The hardest part of becoming someone new is not the arrival. It is the moment you stop letting the old version of yourself have the final word. You passed that moment, it happened quietly, and it happened this morning. What is ahead is the life that has been waiting for exactly this response. For exactly who you are right now, walk into it. If you receive this new season with faith, type 111 in the comments. God bless you, chosen one.